is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of confidence.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
I'd like to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, just insane.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Velocity Racing League Cup Series. We are here today at Lucas Oil Raceway for the Hoosier 200. My name is Mason Heimbaugh. Joined alongside me, my good friend and esteemed colleague, Gareth McAllister, with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight. 1080p, 60 frames a second. We are gearing up for what will be 200 laps of some very exciting racing here today. Gareth, I think it's going to be a great night, and hopefully for you folks at home, you are all ready for the action here today at just over a little bit, 0.6 of a mile here at Lucas Oil Raceway. A little bit of more of a flat track that we are going to have here as well, which I believe, if I recall correctly, the Milwaukee Mile was the previous race that we had last week. So drivers had a little bit of a break from the flat track action, Gareth, but this week they come back to it and revisit some of that driver's tracks, if you will. So, Gareth, I mean, it's going to be another great night of racing. Great to have you back up here in the booth, and hopefully you kind of enjoyed your time off, and hopefully you're ready for some more action here tonight, Gareth.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, good day, as I always do with everyone watching at home and all these drivers and yourself, Mason, as well. But yeah, it's been you know, I'm actually a little bit sad that I missed last week. I must admit, there was the power was out at my house, for those who don't know, so unfortunately I wasn't able to make an appearance. But I'm back, and it's been fantastic. Anyway, so that aside, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good race, like you said, Mason. You know, a fairly flat track this time. I believe there's only banking of 12 degrees, helping these drivers round Lucas Oil Raceway here tonight. And honestly, I think we're going to see some pretty impressive skill coming out of these drivers tonight. We've got about 17 cars coming out, and it's gonna be an interesting one to watch. I reckon. We've only had what, 4 drivers so far take home some wins, so maybe we'll see a new face. And we're speaking of looking at someone who I'm expecting to have a win any time now.
Yeah, Mr.
In the shape. Yeah, in the shape of Tony Hilbrands. I realized should have finished that sentence a lot better than I did. Sorry, Mason.
It's okay. I was like, I don't know if he meant to finish that with something else there, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. Anyhow, we've currently got what I'm honestly kind of not necessarily surprised, but almost kind of. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to see Aaron Smith back up here on pole with a 22.32. We haven't seen the lean, mean yellow banana back up in the front of the field really much at all this season. Not as much as we saw in the 2022 season. Aaron Smith kind of, I don't know necessarily if taking a step back is maybe the right word, but it's definitely interesting to see how Aaron Smith's kind of season has shifted from being more towards being more of a front of the field kind of driver and being more towards kind of maybe top 10, maybe a little bit beyond that in some races. But overall, great to see Aaron Smith back up here on pole yet again with Howie Briss, the current, or excuse me, Gareth, you're passing on your, anyway, Howie Briss here.
Struggle.
Yeah, the struggle is real today. Howie Briss, our reigning champion from the 2022 season here in second. With Tony Hilbrands, like you mentioned, Gareth, I mean, he's looking for a win here this season, or at least going to be trying his best to get as many points as he can, looking into the rest of the season at this moment. I mean, he's had 2 poles already, 4 top 5s, and 8 top 10s so far. And from last week, from the Milwaukee Mile, he actually managed to move up 1 position in the point standing. So he's currently 4th with 1,634 points. And I don't know if you folks at home just heard that from James Coulibaly, but the 22 machine just blew the engine there for a moment. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose, but might have missed a gear in some way, or maybe just shifted a little bit too early, which is definitely something that is very easy to do in these cars, especially if you're like me and was trying to use an actual H-pattern shifter to race these cars. If there's anything I can recommend to any of you that are trying to get into sim racing, don't do that. Anyway, moving on. So we have our starting grid here today, and let's go ahead and run through the field as they stand. Aaron Smith, Howie Briss going to be up in the front row with Tony Hilbrands, Nicholas Coruscant taking up our second row. Logan Jones, James Miller in the third row with Jaden Hopp, Thomas Sewell in the fourth row. Charles Jurek, Sean Williams taking up our fifth row here today. Matthew Fitz and Benjamin Lacey taking up the sixth row. And moving on down the field, James Coulibaly, Scott Shire taking our seventh row. Michael Keithley and Steve Ulrich in our eighth row. And Howie Dtre rounding out the field, Gareth.
Yeah, pretty decent grid. I'd say we've seen. I'd say it's probably not a bad grid actually. Now that I think about it for this field size, especially with such an odd track like Lucas Oil Raceway. But yeah, we're seeing a pretty good turnout of 17 drivers, and you know I'd like to say I'm sure you'd like to do that as well, Mason. If you haven't already, I've already forgotten. Excuse my brain, but you know, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know we're a day late, but yeah, we this is when the races are put on. So yeah, happy Mother's Day to Dawn and Lindsay. Usually show up, and anyone else who is a mother, I guess. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen.
It's beautiful, Gareth. I think that was lovely. But in all seriousness, everyone, yeah, like Gareth said, you know, happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. A lot of you folks that have been tuning in to not only these shows here on Monday nights, but in also some other series as well. I'm not sure if the message will get to all of them here, but I know that there are a lot of great moms out there who support their drivers that are out here on track, and it's always great to see their support. Always great to see them out in the chat and rooting on their favorite drivers. So as we get rolling across the line here, and the lights are going to go off on the iRacing Pace Truck, it is going to be the last time around the field before we get to green flag racing here and we get ready for the action. Aaron Smith, Howie Briss, again up in your front row, side by side. Nicholas Coruscant, Tony Hilbrands right in that second row. And, I mean, Gareth, I think we've had a couple tracks already, at least one that both you and I have been a part of where we've seen flat track racing already. So, I mean, we both know how difficult it has been. Let's see how these drivers are going to handle the first few laps, the short runs here, if you will, of this race, and let's see how these tires are going to be affected. As we get ready for the green flag to drop here and across the checkered line, Aaron Smith, Howie Briss, they move side by side off into turns 1 and 2, and we head off into the back straight away. The most of the field going to be a little side by side for just a moment, trying to get themselves in room and get themselves single file as quickly as possible. You definitely want to keep into the preferred line, which is going to be around the middle groove here today, Gareth.
Yeah, whoa, it looks like and we've already got an accident. It looks like slightly further back. Michael Keithley may have been involved in that one, as he is currently sitting on off track. We have the green flag still being shown, though, so we're continuing to race, but I'm not sure if you caught that start as well. Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw on the start, or everyone watching at home, but Howie Briss actually laid off the throttle and was waiting to see if when Aaron Smith was actually going to get the green flag, and then took off like a rocket to try and get the run as fast as possible, and actually made that move on the outside on the high line into turn 1 to take the lead away. So it actually looks like the high side is doing pretty well right now, and we're seeing some great lap times as Aaron Smith just takes away the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, and we're tuning back into the top 10 driver, or at least fighting for 10th place. Thomas Sewell, Benjamin Lacey, they're going to be nearly bumper to bumper as Lacey, coming out of turn 2, gets into the wall and takes off a little bit of paint off the right side of that number 7 machine. Giving a little bit of cosmetic change here to the number 7, but it's not going to slow him down too much. Thomas Sewell, however, is going to find himself in a little bit of trouble here. The 77 now finding Sean Williams, the 89 driver, pulling up alongside him from the outside lane. And folks, I mean, if that's anything to go by, it's really showing just how different the lanes can really change here for these specific kind of tracks. It's not like Bristol, for example, where everything's going to be bottom groove, and that's going to be pretty much the whole race. But here, things are going to be quite different. A driver's track, again, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, this is really going to test every single driver here today as we're continuing on. Tony Hillbrand's trying to find him some action up here in the top 3, currently holding on to 3rd, and right behind the lean, mean yellow banana of Aaron Smith, who's still trying to close in on the tail of Howie Briss, the reigning champion from 2022, and also still trying to find some more success throughout this season, Gareth, as he's had 2 wins, which, I mean, nothing to definitely shy away from. 1 pole position and 7 top 5s, 10 top 11s. Definitely a lot of stats that I'm spitting out here, but needless to say, Howie Briss looking to add some more points to his current standings, as right now he currently is 2nd in that drivers championship, only 111 points behind Jaden Hopp, the leader here for the drivers championship. So Howie going to be looking for a good night here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Yeah, Howie Briss is just trying to defend his title, and as he said, at the end of last season, when he won that championship, he was telling us that, it's really more consistency than anything else that's been able to make him finish up in that spot. And so far, we have seen that out of Jaden Hopp as well this season, as well as his dominating performance. So it'll be interesting to see how it shapes out towards the end of this one. We are seeing a lot of cars quite loose. What else is very intriguing to see, I should say as well, is Jaden Hopp is not running as high a line as some of the other drivers in front of him. And I'm wondering if that's going to help him make up those places, or potentially lose some places, or lose some time to these drivers up in front, because we've seen a lot of drivers running really, really close to that outside wall. And I'm just wondering if that's to do with tire saving, or if that's just how these drivers are feeling more comfortable up there, but definitely not wanting to get too close, as a little bit of kiss of the wall is not exactly what you want to be doing here, as Scott Shire looks to make a pass on Thomas Sewell, but it doesn't look like he's quite close enough to do it yet. And passing here, I think, is going to be the aim of the game. From what we've seen so far, it's very difficult to pass. As I say that, Scott Shire proving me wrong once again, going underneath and making that move on Thomas Sewell. James Coulibaly trying to follow him through as well, trying to take that 12th place away from Sewell.
Well, and let's just take a moment here to ride on board here with the number 22 of James Coulibaly, as we come out of turn 4 onto the front straight, and we get an idea of what it's like behind the wheel of these cars. And I actually made an error last week with the broadcast with my good colleague James East. we made a statement at one point saying that these were ARCA cars, which they actually are not. I was incorrect in that statement, and I should have known, I should have remembered that this league, VRL, actually runs the Gen 4 Cup car. So that is my bad, and I do apologize for making that a little bit of an error there, but hopefully we can let bygones be bygones here.
Unbelievable, Mason. I cannot believe you.
but coming back to James Koulibaly here and just looking behind the wheel, I mean, it is definitely, it does not look like an easy time out there. I mean, you can just see him just cranking on the wheel as we're going out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway currently. We'll watch here as we come through 3 and 4. You can listen as well to the throttle input of this car. It takes a lot of skill to make all of this come together, folks. I mean, it is a lot to manage at the end of the day. And we can't always kind of show how difficult.
Looks like Benjamin Lacey was running against the wall. Sorry, Mason.
Oh, you're fine. You are perfectly fine, Garrett.
Yeah, it looks like Benjamin Lacey was just running on that high side, and I think just got into the wall a little bit. Was almost wall riding it Ross Chastain style around Lucas Oil Raceway, and yeah, just lost quite a few positions there in doing so. So definitely the big movers of that are going to be very happy with it, Scott Shire and Sean Williams, as he finds himself now fighting with Tom Sewell for the 11th place spot, and that's getting very dicey, as that almost looked like a 3-wide moment there with James Koulibaly as well. As that sort of eases itself out for now, we're going to see the 22 has the run on that high side and is going to take that line as Lacey continues to struggle. We've seen a couple of times now that Filming the Wild car has been really struggling on exit. It's been a little bit more loose than he would probably like it to be at this point.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that we've kind of got to keep an eye out for here, is we're just kind of looking a little bit more towards the front of this rear pack that we have here in the top 10, or at least a little bit beyond that. Sean Williams currently in that 10th place position. You can see Thomas Sewell, the 77, as well as James Koulibaly, Benjamin Lacey, as well just behind him. But the tire fall off here at Lucas Oil Raceway is going to be massive, and drivers are going to have to manage it to the best of their abilities. It's not always easy, to kind of keep a consistent line and keep an eye on your tire temperatures and things like that. And also it's worth mentioning that in real life you don't get that luxury of we see Benjamin Lacey getting a little loose heading into turn 1. He brings it back together, and beautiful save. Yeah, Gareth, it was absolutely great here from Benjamin Lacey, able to make that move, as looks like Thomas Sewell going to get up into the wall as they go through 3 and 4. That's going to allow the 22 of James Koulibaly, the Miller Lite machine, to move on up here into 11th place. Meanwhile, up ahead, we've got Jaden Hopp and Nicholas Corso having a little bit of a bout here for 5th place, or at least potentially there might be one developing between these two, as Jaden currently holds on to 5th, trying to work his way up through the field. Howie Briss still your leader here in the race. And Gareth, I mean, one thing that we haven't really mentioned yet is the fact that fuel windows for today, pit stops, talking about pit stops, the fuel window for these drivers here is roughly about at the halfway mark of this race. But I have a big feeling that we're going to see more than just that one pit stop for fuel, as drivers are allocated of 5 sets of tires for today's race. So I do expect that, again, tire wear is going to be a massive part of today's race, and I expect that it's going to affect a lot of drivers, as out of turn 4, Aaron Smith, getting a little bit too loose there, loses the back end. It's just taps that rear end to the front wall, to the outside wall, excuse me, of the front stretch. And man, Aaron Smith doing a phenomenal job of saving that one, Gareth.
It has to be said, Aaron Smith, no stranger to wheeling this machine around and being very, very good with his throttle control, and that's really been the reason why he was able to keep it pointed in the right direction at the end of the day. As you're right, he had I mean, look at the thing go sideways, fishtailing it every which way, but somehow managing to stay in one piece and using pit exit road very strategically there to get himself back onto the racing surface without being involved in anything crazy or being in the way of anyone. So great job to him as well as everyone else so far for keeping this thing green for the moment. Just a quick shout out as well, as we are about almost 30 laps in, as we're actually looking at two wide battle here with Howie Briss trying to pass lap traffic. I would also like to just give a quick shout out to Dawn Hillbrands, Marcus Regol and Lindsay MW for once again appearing as they very often do each week. Thank you very much for tuning in to the broadcast and letting us know, talking to us in here very much helps us out. Makes it feel more like a little bit more of a family, rather than just myself and Mason being two rambunctious brothers just getting into a bit of craziness. But it's nice to have a little small community that we can all kind of gather around and, you know, be a part of, as there's a lot of contact there with Howie Briss. Is not going to be too happy with that, with Michael Keithley, the lap down car, not willing to give it up all that easily. And there's a little bit of sideways contact as Tony Hillbrand's really made up the time there a lot as well due to that fact, with James Miller right behind. And Jaden Hopp not too far behind either. He's made his way up to the pack as we've got a caution coming out on track now. And there is a Benjamin Lacey stopped on the infield.
Yellow flag is out here, and yeah, the number 7 of Benjamin Lacey is looking like he might be the one to bring it out here for the first time. And after more than a few close calls here today, I'm honestly surprised that oh boy, big hit into the outside wall and right down to the bottom. Luckily, only the rear end taking the most of it there in the end. But yeah, that was a big hit to the front end there, going out of turn 4 into the top wall, the outside wall here on the front straight. And hopefully Benjamin Lacey's going to be able to bring that one down into the pits and be able to bang out some of that damage here. But also, it looks to be Howie D-Tray, the number 34 machine, for one reason or another, has opted to also take it to the pits here as well, and has been there for a little while now. I'm not sure if there's been some issues mechanically with that number 34 machine, but he's been there since lap 21, so he's been there for quite some time, and I'm not sure if he's going to make a return back out here. But Benjamin Lacey might be one of those drivers joining him down here, as again, he's going to have quite a bit of damage. You can kind of see, thanks to the iRacing jankiness that we have with the damage model with these cars, you can kind of just see that tire poking out from that right side fender, the passenger side front fender of that number 7 machine. So definitely a little bit to work out there for the pit crew. They're going to have to figure out what they need to do to get that number 7 machine racing again, even if Benjamin does decide to continue his race here today. As you know, on a short track like this, you know, folks, it's a very demoralizing thing to be put down multiple laps and being unable to get them back. It is a very demoralizing thing as a driver, and sometimes, you know, I don't blame drivers for making the decision to just say, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna watch it. I'm just gonna put the car back in the trailer, call it a night, and we'll move on from there. But Gareth, I mean, as we're getting ready for the first restart of the race, the first yellow flag of the night, I mean, so far 30-ish laps of green flag racing. I mean, what's kind of your opinion of how things are going to shape up here for the next, well, almost 170 laps?
Well, yeah, Mason. Yeah, we've got about the 164 laps. I think we're coming to the point. So, you know, we've got quite a bit to go so far, and you know, I think these drivers have done a pretty good job of keeping it green for the moment. So we'll see how it plays out. Howie D-Tray and Benjamin Lacey, I think, are currently out of the race. I think Lacey has decided to park it after that one. Michael Ashmore joining us as well in the chat, saying that you don't have to park it if you don't start it. So He's got a
Those are
point,
words
and
to
you
live
know,
by.
yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I'd like people to start, but I will say very quickly that Lindsay actually caught me off guard by basically writing a dad joke herself. What does a baby computer call his dad? The answer is data. So I must admit I was having a silent chuckle, trying my best not to laugh while Mason was talking during the caution, but that was actually very funny. So I did like that one. So Lindsay stealing my thunder there. Thank you, Lindsay. Howie Briss is going to take it home for the moment out in front of James Miller, who's currently in a battle with Nicholas Corsell, the Sour Patch Kids machine. Is struggling a little bit with the rear, getting as close to the wall as possible without hitting it, as the 45 machine is trying very desperately to keep the 09 at bay.
Yeah, it is an exciting restart. You still got me chuckling over this dad joke. That's okay. Anyway, Nicholas Corsell, James Miller side by side as we come out of turn 4 and across the checkered line yet again. Lap 39 of 200. These drivers get another opportunity to restack the field and get an opportunity to, well, fight for some different positions here as Howie Briss is retaining his lead, and we see for a moment Charles Jurek, the number 76, get himself into the wall. It's a scene that we have already witnessed a few different times here tonight already. A lot of drivers finding themselves kind of just grazing that wall as they come out of corner exit, and it's making things, I mean, for some drivers, it might just be a little tap, but for those that are, you know, really grinding into the wall, that is going to slow that car down significantly, and that is where we're seeing some of the doors opening for drivers that are looking, you know, for that chance to work their way up into, you know, top 3, top 5, whatever the case might be. That is what they're going to be looking for here. Those kinds of mistakes where, you know, drivers are just putting a little bit too much juice into it, coming out of either turn 4 or turn 2. And Gareth, I mean, I don't think I could really do any better because, you know, this is a tough track, and trying to gauge, you know, where you need to be on the track and how much throttle you need to have to correctly, well, really to avoid making any contact with anything, or other drivers or the wall. It's a lot of balance. I mean, eventually, you know, I could probably do it, but these drivers definitely make it look extremely easy, folks.
Absolutely. As you say that, James Miller getting a little bit of the wall on that right rear. It looked like just tapping it very slightly, but Jaden Hopp not able to capitalize quite yet. So staying in the 3rd position for now, but there are battles all over the place. You can see cars right behind each other. And Lucas Oil Raceway, you know, I didn't expect to see the kind of battling that we are seeing right now. I thought we would have probably a little bit of a line, a bit of a train going on, and not too much battling, but it seems that I've been proven wrong so far, as this track is certainly doing its thing as Scott Shire tries to work his way around James Coulibaly. Not able to do so quite yet, fighting for that 8th place position. It almost looked like with the camera angle there that Scott Shire got into the rear of Coulibaly himself, but thankfully not too bad in that regard. And you know, one thing I would like to say, shout out to Corsell, because I have no idea, I mean, what if he's done a whole bunch of practice or if he's just naturally talented in this specific track. But he is showing up in the 2nd place position, and, you know, we're used to seeing him maybe around the 5th place spot, but coming in 2nd right now without trying to do a commentator's curse on the man, he seems to be doing very, very well. And maybe that's because I have Sour Patch Kids in my hand right now. Who knows?
You know, maybe that has a little bit of something to do with it here, as we have a report coming in from, oh, never mind. I think that might have been maybe not. Maybe this was something recent here. I'm going back to check here, and it looks like actually Benjamin Lacey was involved in another incident, another loan car incident that did not bring out a yellow flag. And as we pull out of the in-car camera here, we see James Coulibaly right alongside Scott Shire here. But yeah, Benjamin Lacey involved in another incident. That's going to put him right back down into pit road. And he joins Howie Dietrich there for probably what will be a little bit of time here before we see that number 7 back out on track. And right now, I mean, so far it looks like a lot of the action, you know, is trying to get to that point, getting into that groove of the race here where drivers can kind of just focus on clicking off laps and not necessarily have to worry about fighting here at this point. You know, we're just about to turn lap 50 of 200, and you know, it's still 150 laps that you've got to go around before you see that checkered flag. So you really got to think of things for the long haul. You've also got to think about pit stops and things of that nature. Granted, we've already come in for a yellow flag pit stop. There is still the chance that we could see those green flag stops, and you've got to still be ready for them. And what I'm really surprised to see here, Gareth, Aaron Smith, the number 70 machine, I'm not sure if this is an early retirement here for Aaron or what the case might be, but he's definitely coming in a little bit earlier than expected, and it does not look like there's much damage to that machine. I hope not. I hope it's not an early retirement here for Aaron, but you know, sometimes, again, it's one of those things where it's, as a driver, you got to make those decisions because, you know, I don't know. It could be a real, you know, things outside of the racing world that, you know, real life always comes first, and racing in the sim world isn't always exactly a priority in the grand scheme of things. So, but Gareth, as we're still looking along here and still seeing about 14 drivers still out here out of the 17 that we have seen start today's race. Still a lot of great action here as we're watching the top three, and James Miller, Jaden Hopp, Nicholas Corsell, they're all starting to slowly put some pressure here on our race leader.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like a race is what we are in for tonight. Not that we already haven't had one going, as it looks like Howie Briss is definitely got a lot of company in his rearview mirror right now, in the likes of Nicholas Corsell, James Miller, Jaden Hopp, and Tony Hilbrand's not too far behind either, as all 5 of those machines are very, very close together. And we're gonna see just who is the short run king, as it looks like James Miller getting a little bit of the wall. Just you know, when you ever have a fight with the wall, Mason, the wall will more often than not take home the win, but James Miller right now is proving that that's not always the case. He's got a lot of pace in that thing, and the 09 machine is right on the back bumper of Nicholas Corsell, and we're gonna see if he's gonna make the move or not. It looks like James Miller is really enjoying that high line, but Corsell is definitely sectioning that off, so he's gonna have to find a way to use a different line around this racetrack if he's going to make that pass.
Absolutely. As right now we're on board with James Miller, the 09 machine, as he's continuing to put that pressure here on Nicholas Corsell, the number 45 driver, just up ahead in second. And you know, we see that little bit of a love tap here, and you can even see it from Corsell just up ahead in that 45 machine almost every single time that these drivers come out of corner exit. It is just a slight graze. It's almost as if they're trying to just settle the car in right there and just kind of you know, feel where the end of the track is almost. But you know, the trick is you don't want to overdo it. You definitely don't want to push it too much. You've got to try and almost just gently glide into it, as to, you know, not, you know, slam into it and really get that tire, both of those tires kind of, well, start to cave in on one another, and so on and so forth, as we see the 09 get into the rear end of Nicholas Corsell, Tony Hilbrands, Jaden Hopp, all going to be involved here. Looks like Hilbrands is going to be able to walk away from it as we see the field start to work away. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at our instant replay here for a moment, as, ooh, there it is, as we get a lovely view.
Second contact. That was the second contact with Tony Hilbrands coming in after the fact.
Let's back things up here.
Hitting the rear up of Jaden Hopp. That was the second contact. That was just an unfortunate event that occurred because of our initial contact between James Miller and Nicholas Corsell, just up front.
So here we see it. Nicholas Corsell there with James Miller just behind him, the Tim Hortons machine, saying, you know what, Sour Patch isn't that good. Tim Hortons is better. And there it is. Some big fighting words, and then Tony Hillbrands and Jaden Hobb, they're just innocent bystanders in this one. Hillbrands, seeing that, not being able to, realize that Jaden Hobb is slowing up because of the incident happening in front of him, causing a cascade of events after that. But ultimately, it looks like only 4 drivers going to be involved in this one here. So it looks like we're going to see most of these drivers return back to the pits. And Howie Briss, Scott Shire, they're going to stay out here on track, and neither one of them actually going to come in and utilize this yellow flag to get fuel, tires, so on and so forth. Gareth, I mean, they might be, I don't know, do you think that they could be planning for a long green flag run here, or are they just kind of rolling the dice and, maybe seeing what could happen?
Well, I think at this point they're having a look and seeing. I think at this point they're having a look and they're determining just how much of a factor, I guess, staying up front and track position is going to be at the end of this race, because more than anything else, every single one of these drivers, regardless of whether they just pit or not, will have to come down pit road one more time before they can make it to the end. So I think they're almost factoring that in, as well as if we continue to keep on going under caution, it's not really going to change. Really, I mean, the tire wear is going to even out, especially if we're under caution for a very long time. So if the cautions keep on coming, it's better to be up front as well and try and avoid that. As I say that, though, it just occurs to me that that last wreck happened in the second place position. So you never really know. But Mason, just as we get ready to shout out Mother's Day as well, I would like to point out that nothing is lost until Mum can't find it. And, that is one Mother's Day sort of little tidbit there that I found just recently, and I thought that is exactly true when I think of my own mum. Would search high and low if I ever forgot something, and she would find it for me, but she could never find anything in her own handbag. So, it is what it is. And Howie Briss and Scott Shire are going to get ready to get through with this one, as Howie Briss gets a nice jump on the outside line, and Scott Shire in the second place spot, just losing a little bit of ground there. You can see the swarm of fresh tires, as it looks like a caution came out straight away.
Indeed it has, and it's going to involve here Thomas Sewell and Matthew Fitz, both going to be the main drivers that are flagged in this one, at least, or at least being brought to our attention here from our timing and scoring information here. Let's take a look at the instant replay as we head off into turn number 1. The green flag drops in. Here it goes. Whoa! A big send here from Michael Keithley. Let's back this up here real quick. I'm very curious to see what happened here for Michael Keithley. I mean, maybe just kind of jumped the gun a little bit, or wasn't too sure. Here we want to ride from the helmet camera here. Oh, he definitely overshot it, I think, going into turn 1. I think either that or didn't anticipate the field in front of him to slow down as much as they were going into turn 1. But ultimately, that is going to cause Thomas Sewell, Matthew Fitz to have a big wreck going into turns 1 and 2, and both cars taking quite a bit of damage here, Gareth.
Yeah, look, from what I could see, it definitely looked like it looked initially like it looked initially like there was way too much speed and pace coming out of that 53 machine of Michael Keithley, and he just kind of caught the rear end of Fitz without a care in the world. But when you look at it back, it does look like he was able to carry a fair amount of speed throughout the corner. So it almost seems like he just had a lot more faith in his machine than some of the other drivers in front, and just wasn't anticipating that Matthew Fitz would brake or lift off the throttle as quickly as he did. And unfortunately, just got to the rear end as he tried to make up places from being a little bit further back in the field. So, look, you can never really put blame on any one individual driver for something, especially we shouldn't do up here in the booth. And I'm certainly not saying anything about it, as it just looked like it was a little bit of miscommunication between all the drivers involved, and just a little bit maybe of desperation that wasn't necessary at that point in time. But I'll tell you what, Mason, a classic one I've got for you. What kind of shoe, excuse me, while my voice comes back to me, what kind of shoes did ninjas wear?
High tops?
That's actually not bad either, but I was, the answer is sneakers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I knew it was going to be something along those lines, but man, the high tops, though, that would have been funny.
that wasn't bad. And you know what? To make up for my last missing of a dad joke, how did Harry Potter get down the hill?
I don't know.
Just walking normally. Nah, JK, he was rolling.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh, that is a good one. Lindsay did ask you though, Gareth, what are the strongest days of the week?
The strongest days of the week? I've never really thought about the days of the week really versing each other. What is the strongest day of the week? I'm gonna say Friday.
I honestly, maybe it's Saturday? I'm gonna go Saturday. All right, folks, but we're getting ready to go back to green flag action here as the iRacing pace truck is back down into pit road. Ooh, a little bit of a love tap there from Charles Jurek from Jaden Hopp. I'm not sure if that was a checkup there from Jaden, trying to slow up the field here just a little bit as we take the green flag, heading off into turns 1 and 2, having a little bit better luck this time for the field as they come down the back straightaway, heading off into turns 3 and 4. Jaden Hopp, your race leader. Tony Hilbrand's in second, and Sean Williams looking for a big dive. Down on the bottom right now in 4th place, trying to get alongside Charles Jurek once again heading into turns 1 and 2. Trying to build up some momentum in that number 89 machine as Tony Hilbrand's with a little bit of room between himself and the rest of the field, or at least the field behind him, trying to close in on Jaden Hopp. Meanwhile, Sean Williams, James Coulibaly, as well as Charles Jurek, all going to be in a tight battle here for 3rd place.
Yeah, and just bringing it back to the strongest days of the week. Lindsay got us good with that one. Saturdays and Sundays, the strongest days of the week, because the rest are weekdays. Lindsay is definitely up to her game coming into Mother's Day weekend racing, and I'm very much enjoying the I guess the jokes coming out of Lindsay at the moment, as well as everyone else. Definitely having fun up here in the booth. Definitely some great racing out on track, as well as Charles Jurek and Howie Brisnow are side by side for the 4th position, and have been for a couple of laps now. And it looks like Charles Jurek is going to take home that position for the moment, as Howie Briss has to really just be content with holding around the 5th place for the moment, as he also has Coulibaly really close behind him. And you can see just there the different lines that the drivers are running, as we are on board on the passenger side of Howie Briss's machine. And you can see the leaders up front as well. Jaden Hopp, let's not forget, our number 1 driver in the championship, as well as in the number of wins so far this season, finding himself up at the front once again.
Yeah, it is looking to be a very good kind of almost second half, if you will. I mean, not quite there yet, but it's looking like a very good start to Jaden Hopp's second yellow flag here of the night. Jaden having another opportunity to get up towards the front of the pack and having a little bit of luck come his way in some sense, maybe not quite luck playing in his favor here, but definitely a lot of great timing as we see Charles Jurek in the back of the field catch the side of Howie Briss coming out of turn 4. The yellow flag flies here yet again here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Let's take a look at the instant replay here and see exactly how this one unfolded on lap 78 of 200. It's looking to be like it's going to be an interesting night here at IRP, as there it is. Charles Jurek just get a little bit loose coming out of 4, gets into the wall and collects Howie Briss with him, bringing him all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack. Howie Briss just he's just a passenger in this one. He wasn't even, and that's the unfortunate part really for Howie, is that he had no chance of avoiding this in any way. I mean, Gareth, you know, we're talking split seconds, I mean, milliseconds of reaction time that you would have to have. And even then, you know, your chances of escaping that are minimal at best.
Yeah, it's look, honestly, there was absolutely nothing that could have been done from Howie Briss's perspective, as Jurek just as you said, just got loose, came up into the outside wall, and there was nothing that Howie Briss could have done because he was right on the rear bumper and absolutely nowhere to go. There's no time in the world for even the fastest reaction time out there to really react to that one. So very unfortunate for Howie Briss, and well, also Charles Jurek really involved in that one quite a big way as well. Obviously him having the initial issue, but definitely nothing we like to see out on track. But you know, as we pace around once again, Mason, how does a penguin build its house?
Oh man, he it waddles? I don't know.
He glues it back together.
Oh, dang it! I knew it was something to do with igloos. Gosh, dang it! Oh, God! Every time I you know, you tell me the joke and then my brain is like, it's got to be this, and then I doubt myself, and I knew it was something to do with igloos.
Well, you start thinking like it can't be that corny, and
no,
then sure enough,
it's always that corny. Well, the one thing I would like to point out, though, it's not a dad joke, but it's the fact that I put a poll up for all of our viewers, for those of you watching at home, asking you who wins, the wall or the car. 75% of you out of the 4 people who voted, 75% of you said it was the wall, and 1 of you said it was the car. And I think so far tonight we can prove Mythbusters style that the wall does in fact win most of the time. But all jokes aside, it's great to have these kinds of little interactions every now and then with all of you at home. Don't think too hard. You know, Don, that's like my superpower, is thinking too hard. But anyway, as you know, Gareth, we get ready to rack it and stack it here yet again. Lights are off on the pace truck. Jaden Hopp's our race leader. Tony Hilbrand's up here in 2nd place. That is going to be probably an exciting start here for Tony, and I mean, really, probably a long fought time coming here for Tony here tonight.
Yeah, we're going to see just what kind of a run he can get out on that inside line. It looks like the high line is definitely preferred on these restarts. Jaden Hopp having the chance to actually choose when to go. We'll see how this one pays off, as Jaden Hopp once again gets a very nice run on that high side. Tony Hilbrand's on the inside as well, as a car just behind pulls off a little bit there, allowing some faster cars through, as Sean Williams tries something on the low side underneath Koulibaly. But James Koulibaly has a lot of pace on that high side. You can see a battle going further back. We've got Scott Shire, we've got Michael Keithley, we've got Nicholas Corsell and Charles Jurek fighting behind them. A battle for the lead as well, as Jaden Hopp and Tony Hilbrands go side by side. There are battles all over the place right now, Mason.
Yeah, it is action-packed here at IRP, and it is only getting spicier as the night goes on. The 81 machine of Jaden Hopp, Tony Hillbrands, the number 92. They take it side by side out of turn 4 and across the checkered line. Heading back into turn number 1. Hillbrand's going to have the inside line advantage, or at least you would think, as Jaden Hopp is still right on the door of that number 92 machine. These two have yet to leave each other's side at this moment. That almost sounds like a sweet love story, if you will, but I can tell you it is anything but that here at the moment. You know, they definitely respect each other outside of the car. They have great interactions, but I tell you right now, it is nothing but showing who is the faster driver between these two at the moment, as Hillbrand's doing a phenomenal job of staying with, I mean, both of these drivers are just doing an incredible job of keeping this race really exciting here at the moment, as Jaden Hopp having a little bit of a momentary blip into oblivion, returning back to the track, and Tony Hillbrand looking like he might be, I don't know, Gareth, I think he just made a smart decision here. I think he just backed off and said, you know what, I'm going to be burning my tires off fighting with him like this lap after lap. Let me just back off, let me just stay on his tail and try and conserve tires, try and conserve fuel, and not put myself in a predicament that I can't return from.
Yeah, well, I think Tony Hillbrand's got very, very close a couple of times with making contact with Jaden Hopp, and I think just made the smarter decision of maybe for the moment I should just stay behind Jaden and see if I can find a point where he's just a little bit weaker than me and try and make a run of him at him once again. But for the moment, you know, we have seen that high line has really been paying off, and it did so as well as Tony was able to get right next to Jaden, but unfortunately not able to pass, so Hopp's still staying in the #1 spot for the moment. But yeah, very close battles, as you can see. A lot, speaking of, you know, absolutely hucking it around this field, the 89 machine of Sean Williams getting very, very loose, hitting the wall again. We're going to be rubbing alongside, as it looks like Logan Jones is going to take the low side of this one. We'll see if that pays off, as Scott Shire also getting involved, and it does not. So the outside line continuing to make waves here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Yeah, it is incredible just how close the action is here at Lucas Oil Raceway, and really just how, I mean, I don't want to say that the cautions that we've seen tonight have kind of contributed to this, but I mean, you can almost say that they actually have. Being able for, given the opportunity for drivers 3 times now at least, for them to come down into the pits, grab tires, grab fuel, so on and so forth. But granted, over the course of today's race, they only have 6 tires in total, 6 sets of tires in total to work with, not just 6 tires. That would be ridiculous. But anyway, with that being said, drivers still have to be mindful of how many times they're coming down into the pits, and also have to be kind of aware of, is this race going to be something where we're going to be spending a lot of time under yellow, and do I need to really make that move to come down into the pits while, you know, there's still a lot of racing left to be done here tonight. But right now we're just about 5 laps before we take to the halfway mark in tonight's race. We will see the crossed flags from the flag stand indicating it is the halfway mark here tonight. So Gareth, I mean, as we see a little bit of action here for James Coulibaly starting to develop here, Sean Williams, the 89 machine, getting right on the rear end of that 22 Miller Lite machine, and really, I think maybe gave him a little bit of a love tap there for a second, but Sean Williams going to move himself up into 3rd place, as Logan Jones and Scott Shire also make that move around James Coulibaly, as Coulibaly finds himself into the wall here through 3 and 4. And I'm not sure if that's just having a little bit of a struggle here, or what the case might be. But Coulibaly, I mean, nonetheless, still up here in the top 5, or at least in 6th place at the moment. So not necessarily having a bad race, just try to keep himself out there and keep himself as fast as he can here.
Yeah, it looks like James Coulibaly has actually a little bit of damage on the front right of his machine. So, or the front left, I'm not exactly sure. It just looks like the front is a little bit dented in really on both sides. So I'm not quite sure if there is damage or if that's just the paint scheme that he is running, giving that illusion to me as I watch him around the racetrack. But if that is the case, I mean, that could also be affecting him. We know he's got some pace in the car, as he's shown glimpses of it here and there. So he just needs to dial it in and get that consistency going, and then he can move his way up. But Steve Ulrich, it looks like, and Michael Keithley are having a battle just behind Koulibaly now for the 7th position. They were very, very close together. Nicholas Corsell there as well in the 9th place at the moment, as the front runners have kind of evened themselves out a bit. Jaden Hopp with a nice half a second lead over Tony Hilbrands, who himself is almost 4 seconds, excuse me, as my voice is having a little bit of a struggle the last couple of days. Sean Williams finding himself about 4 seconds behind Tony Hilbrands himself. So it's getting close though, as we've got a lot of battles shaping up towards the front middle pack of this race. And we continue to watch this one as Ulrich, and there was a very close moment with Michael Keithley just behind, getting a little bit loose once again. That 53 machine, you know, we're seeing a lot of pace out of him as well, as it looks like a battle for 3rd position. Logan Jones and Scott Shire. You know, Scott Shire, one of those drivers as well that we've seen week in and week out, very good on older tires. When the tire wear starts making its ugly head known, and it seems like it's right at that point where these drivers that have saved a little bit more tire than the likes of Sean Williams are going to start making their way through the field.
Yeah, it looks like right now, excuse me, as it looks like right now as we're starting to see a really good green flag run for these drivers. I mean, taking a look here from the last time we went back to green flag, it was lap 83 was the last time that we took that green flag. So a little over 20 laps now, or actually I think exactly 20 laps now that we have seen green flag so far, and hopefully going to continue to see that trend upwards and hopefully get more of that here throughout the race. But you know, as drivers start to settle in and as, you know, things start to calm down for drivers, not so many of them, you know, getting alongside with one another and having the chance to get underneath one another as far as battles are concerned. Here's a great example of that. Michael Keithley with James Koulibaly, the 53 Alltel machine. And wow, Alltel, that is a name that I have not heard in a long time. Anyway,
what is it?
Alltel,
I haven't heard it at all.
Alltel is an American, well, at least I think it's American, or used to be American, or something along those lines. It was in America. It was a it was a cellular service that was very popular in the early 2000s, 90s, if I recall correctly. Maybe even beyond that, but I was born in the 90s, so I am, you know, I only remember so much from the early 2000s and beyond. But Alltel was definitely one of those things, and anyway, anyhow, that just kind of gave me a blast of the past, if you will. I still remember some of the big phones that existed back then, brick phones and all sorts of wild things that existed.
I was gonna say, is that like dial-up service then?
Oh yeah, we're talking dial-up. We're talking oh man, flip phones. Maybe not even flip phones. I still remember the time before the flip phone was even a thing, and it was just, you know, a little tiny, you know, almost brick-looking thing that was in your hand. The Nokia, something or the other. I could Motorola. That's the other one that I was thinking of. Don, yes, I'm not exactly too old, but I can feel.
You just got called out.
I can feel the age definitely coming faster and faster, especially as I, you know, watch my son grow up and so on and so forth, and see all the younger kids, you know, grow up as well. It's definitely coming fast, and I don't enjoy it, to say the least.
Mason, just on that nostalgia trip, just quickly, you know, because I'm feeling a bit nostalgic right now after you've said that, as well as we see a little bit of a wall ride there from Sean Williams, so giving up that 5th place spot to Michael Keithley and under fire from Nicholas Corsell right behind, as well as they're actually going to stay too wide for the moment. But yeah, you know, the kids growing up these days, that makes me sound old as well. They don't know what a floppy disk is. You know, they don't know what a VHS is. You know, all that stuff. To them, it's just like they grow up like knowing that internet exists and has existed, as far as they're concerned, forever. And you know, I see kids growing up after 2000. I'm like, how? You know, how do we have kids that are adults now that grew up after the year 2000? I've got no idea. That's crazy to me. But yeah. Anyway, so I look at kids who have got more accomplished in their life at a younger age than me. I'm like, why? No,
Well,
but, yeah.
it's a very easy thing to do, and look back at your time and think to yourself, what else could I have done to do better? But I often as well think that it's not a good way to look at things as well, because
No.
there's always everyone goes down a different path in life, and you'll
I tell you what, Mason, I wouldn't change this for the world. I love doing this.
No,
with
100%.
you and everyone else. You know,
Yes,
yeah.
being a part of this, being up here in the booth with you, Gareth, and getting to know all of these fine folks as well as the drivers and the leagues, I don't think I would have it any other way. It's definitely been an experience that you don't necessarily get anywhere else. This is definitely something that I have very much enjoyed for, I think I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, maybe a little bit longer than that, but it has been quite some time, and I certainly look forward to doing it in the coming years. As and I always say it, I hope to one day get to do it, in the real world, get to actually be up there in the booth in a real track and calling a real race. But like I always say, maybe one day we'll figure that out as time goes on. But for the time being, we get to call some excellent racing here for the fine folks at Velocity Racing League, as we're on lap 117 of 200. And Jaden Hopp, Tony Hillbrands, Logan Jones, your top three at the moment. And Derek Harr coming into the chat saying, I'm older than Google. And that makes me curious now, when Google was created.
Well, I think all of us are older than Google, now I think about it. I don't actually think Google's all that old.
It is, yeah, okay, yeah. That I am also technically older than Google as well. It was released September 4th, 1998, which ironically is the date between me and my girlfriend's birthdays, which is kind of hilarious. That's kind of funny. Now that I know that, that's gonna be forever in my brain. So, anyway, yeah, and if that's also kind of a fun little fact for those of you. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but myself, my girlfriend, and a lot of members in my family share the same birthday month. So there are a lot of September babies in my family. It's kind of surprising, but that's all needless information that we don't need to delve into at the moment.
Dawn, just by the way, Dawn, you're only as old as you feel, and I can't see what you look like, but you don't look a day over 31. There you go. That's winning me some browning points there, Mason.
Well, Gareth, and I think it's just been great.
Unless she is under 31, and then I'm gonna get slapped.
Oh, Lindsay's got another dad joke for us though. Where do pirates get their hooks?
Oh, please tell me it's something like the hardware.
The harbor?
Oh yeah, that could work.
Is it the harbor? I hope it is. If it's the harbor, I'm gonna scream. I'm just kidding.
You're gonna scream. Maybe don't scream. Maybe don't scream.
Yeah, I don't think they would appreciate that too much. But here we've got. Oh wow, Carl Fitz saying, I learned to program Fortran computers on punch cards. Wow.
I don't even know what that means. That's how young
I am. Wow. You want to talk about some old school stuff?
Lindsay. With the hook skin. Oh my.
The secondhand store. Oh my god. Where do you guys find this stuff? Where do you come up with this stuff?
I don't know where
my
Lindsay comes up with it, but she's on fire tonight.
She's got some good ones for us tonight. But, you know, I'm just reminiscing over the fact that Carl used to program Fortran computers on punch cards. You know, for those of you that, just a little bit of a fun history lesson. And Carl, I might get this wrong a little bit, so feel free to correct me if I get anything wrong here. But long story short, a long time ago, back in the day, when computers used to be about the size of, I'm pretty sure this was back when computers used to be the size of full rooms. We're talking rooms, not just, you know, a little tower next to you, or even just the big bulky things that you would see back in the day. We're talking very, very large systems. And in order to process data, or in order to run a specific program, you would have to, well, you'd have to feed it information. You'd have to feed it a program or a script or something that you would want it to do. And in order to do this, they would take these cards and they would punch in basically literal ones and zeros, essentially. I can't remember what the actual representation of an open punch and a closed punch was, but either way, you would feed that into the computer and it would process it and do a whole bunch of stuff. But also, another fun little fact is that if you were a programmer for one of these computers, and if you were writing something and you had to, you know, work on something, you had to keep all of these cards in very specific orders. So imagine, you know, you are a programmer, an engineer or something, and you have hundreds of these things in a pile, and all of a sudden one day you accidentally swipe your arm over it or drop it, and all of a sudden you're playing 52 pickup, but the worst version of it that you can possibly think of. So, you know, I just from a very nerdy standpoint, I genuinely appreciate all of the work that went into early computing and how it has evolved since then. It is extremely incredible, the amount of technology that has been developed in what seems, I think, 60 years, something like that, something along those lines. It has been a very long time.
Yeah, well, 60 years isn't even that long when you think about, you know, the time to create something or to make it as compact as we have computers now. Like, when you think about, they used to take up basically an entire building, just one computer. Like, anyway.
Well,
James Koulibaly is currently very close on track to James Miller, I believe, just behind. He had the 9th spot, and we're going to have green flag pit stops, it looks like, as Corsell makes his way down, as well as Steve Ulrich is also showing that he's in pit lane as well. So Nicholas Corsell deciding it's time to come down. You can see Ulrich pulling into his stop as well. And that's going to be interesting to see, as they didn't have to come down pit road in terms of fuel quite yet. So tire wear may be playing a big factor in strategy right now.
Yeah, I think strategy is definitely, again, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the broadcast. We mentioned the whole just kind of strategy part of this race where, you know, tire wear is going to be a huge part of it. You're going to have to be kind of picky about when you come down into the pits and when you're grabbing tires, when you're filling up on fuel, because you've really got to plan around what the dynamic of this race is going to be. And, you know, like we've seen already, it's had a little bit of a, not necessarily chaotic start, but a sporadic kind of start, or first half of the race, if you will, having those few yellow flags come out here, kind of shaking up the field here a little bit towards the beginning. But now we've had well over 50 laps of green flag racing here at this point. So now it's getting to the point for a lot of drivers, I think, where they've got to start thinking about, you know, how am I going to keep myself in this thing until the end, until the checkered flag, and is there going to be any opportunity for myself, you know, to really put on any sort of fights here, or am I just going to be stuck here until? And this is kind of the big question, right? You know, you don't necessarily know how this race is going to go. You don't necessarily know if there's going to be a yellow flag that's going to come out in, you know, next lap, 10 laps, 15 laps, 30 laps. It doesn't necessarily matter. So it's all kind of a guessing game for these drivers, and I think a lot of them are, at this point, maybe even a little cautious as to, you know, how the rest of this race is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, now that I'm looking at it, Howie Briss is actually the first car a lap down from what I'm seeing. Actually, it's just transitioned over to Charles Jurek, but they haven't come down pit road yet. I'll be very interested to see where Courcelle ends up at the end of this one, especially if we stay green, because he came in quite a ways earlier than anyone else, and you can see the difference in pace right there throughout the corner as those new tires are really putting in work in the middle of the corner. Especially, you can just see the kind of speed difference as Courcelle makes his way around the track.
Yeah, it is looking to be like a very, very interesting race here for some drivers. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. I mean, we've seen Howie Briss be up there towards the front of the field, and Nicholas Courcelle.
Tony Hilbrand's coming in.
Tony Hilbrand's coming down into pit road here as well.
Jaden Hopp, the leader, he's come down as well.
It is starting to look like a busy pit road here as Logan Jones also making that entry. A few different drivers taking that time to come down into the pits here. Green flag pit stops underway, and I mean, with 60 laps, under 60 laps left to go here, Gareth, I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to be able to make it all the way to the end here on just these tires and fuel alone. It really seems like they could be able to, but you know, I'm not 100% certain on that. It seems like they're coming in about 50 laps into a run here, so maybe they can if they really try and, you know, stretch things out here. But I don't know, Gareth. I mean, with how difficult it's been all race long already tonight, and also seeing, you know, the sun starting to come down here a little bit. We might even see the lights come on here with 60 laps left to go. I don't know. There still seems like there's enough sun left to take it all the way to the checkered flag. But yeah, I mean, as track temperature's coming down, track's probably, it might actually start to grip up here a little bit more. It seems like we've started to see less of drivers getting into the wall and so on and so forth. So I'm not sure, Gareth. I mean, what are kind of your predictions here for the last 60 laps?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm telling you that, like, the sun is going down, as you know. You can see that on your screen at home as well. The sun's going down, which means that the track is cooling down, which also means that the drivers are going to have a little bit more grip, which they're definitely going to need towards the end of this race, as Scott Shire and James Coulibaly have also just made their way down pit road as well. But what that means is that they're going to have a lot more grip, which means they can push the car a little bit more into the corner and on exit. However, tyre wear, if we stay green the rest of this race, tyre wear is going to be huge. These drivers definitely can make it. I have no doubt in my mind they can make it on fuel to the end. All of them from this point. But I am, except for Matthew Fitz and Howie Briss, still needing to come down the road, as well as Sean Williams and James Miller, who are currently sitting in the top 2 spots. Jaden Hopp will take over your race lead once all is said and done. But I will say that once they make this final few pit stops, they should be able to make it all the way to the end of the race without a problem. The question is whether they will be still in one piece by the time they get there, Mason.
Yeah, that's really the ultimate question here, is can you make it to the checkered line, to the checkered flag, in one piece here? And so far it seems like most drivers are going to be able to. I mean, a couple drivers here, obviously, they're going to be coming away with some paint missing on the cars. Some drivers, maybe even some quarter panels missing, or, you know, dented in here and there. But ultimately, we've only seen a couple retirements from the race. Benjamin Lacey being the first retiree from tonight's race, having a having a big wreck on the front straightaway early on, and then also having another incident after coming out of the pits after waiting for so long to get repaired, as we see a little bit of a battle, or maybe not necessarily a battle, but James Miller, Jaden Hopp, both going to be side by side. Miller going to have significantly older tires. Miller coming in on lap 80, so he's still out here, 70 lap old tires, and I think James Miller is just he's pushing it all the way as much as he can, as close as to the end here before coming down into the pits. And I think James Miller here, Gareth, is going to be one of those drivers that's going to be taking that over strategy, or that's not the right term. You know what I'm trying to say. he's trying to get things done here, and he's trying to have as much tires to use for the 50 laps that we have left here tonight, or whenever he decides to come down into the pits.
Well, that's really the key thing, especially for himself, James Miller, as well as Nicholas Corsell and Logan Jones. Those three drivers, as well as a couple others, but some of these drivers, namely, as we talk about James Miller, he's been down pit lane 4 different times already. So if he's come down and gotten tires every single time, I believe he's only got 1 or 2 spare sets behind the pit wall, and that's probably the reason why we're seeing him stay out as long as possible, because if we get a late race caution, those tires may definitely come into play big time, and he's wanting to make sure that he has as fresh tires underneath him as possible if we come to that point in time. But also, just waiting on a caution, maybe he'll be able to lock in his position should that caution come out. So there's a multitude of reasons as to why you would want to stay out as long as possible, as we're currently looking as Tony Hillbrand's making his way through the field, and he's trying desperately to catch up to Jaden Hopp in front, but Hopp is doing his usual and basically just finding himself out by himself, just out in front, clicking off laps and not getting too crazy with the throttle, and just keeping himself in steady pace and in a good position to win this thing.
Yeah, it's really kind of worked in the favor of Jaden Hopp. I mean, ever since that we've seen the race kind of tighten up here, and drivers have really kind of got themselves in shape here as far as the yellow flags have gone. And that's not to say that we've seen a bunch of them here tonight. We really haven't. Excuse me, especially coming to a place like IRP, where short tracks are kind of infamous for having what we like to call as broadcasters a caution fest. I mean, it doesn't always happen, and for these drivers, they're really showing that they've got things under control, and it's just been a little bit maybe of a tricky start for these drivers. I mean, just having a very hot track out there. Tires are definitely not wanting to stick down to the track. It looked a little slick in some areas. So, I mean, some issues for some drivers, but ultimately I think it's been a good day of racing so far, and with under 50 laps left to go, I think they're ready. I think they're just looking at this point to finish this thing out and, come away with a relatively good race here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And looking at our next race, we head to the All-Star race at Iowa Speedway next week, where we will see 70 laps, some fantastic racing at Iowa.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that race as well, but first and foremost, obviously, this race is still going on, and we've got some of the drivers separated a little bit here. So Mason, I'm gonna just put one to you. Last week, my dad told me a joke about boxing, but I missed the punchline. Yeah, just let that one sink in at home.
That's just oh man, it's this like, it's the dry humor that just gets me every time. I don't know why. It's great. I love it, Gareth. Gareth, I don't know what I would do without you and your dad jokes and just keeping me entertained every week. I don't think I would want it any other way.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, Mason. I'm here to provide the comic relief if I can, I guess. Uh, as Joe Albanese, we're not gonna say that on broadcast, but yes, this is exactly what you've said. That is one of my nicknames, and we can gloss over that one pretty quickly.
Oh no, I can't. Okay, I gotta recollect myself here. But we've got Joe Albanese here, Long Island nerd, coming in the chat here, joining us for a lovely night here for some Monday night racing. Joe's joining us from our. Typically on Wednesday nights we have a broadcast for the J2I CS league, and Joe is one of the racers there. But Gareth has also been part of the series as well, racing along with them. So if you guys are curious and want to check that out, I know it's a little bit later at night for some of you folks, but it's at right here on Wednesday nights on the Team Goon Squad channel, usually about 10 p.m. Eastern time. Is when we start to go live, or you can just go back and check some of the previous broadcasts. It's a great time, and it's definitely been some great racing with the folks over at J2I. So shout out to you, Mr. Long Island Nerd. Thank you for joining us for tonight's broadcast. It's great to have you, and hopefully get to see you around some more broadcasts. It's always great to see drivers and other from other parts of the league and other parts of the world joining us and checking out some of the other racing that we have here on the TGS YouTube channel, as we've got some great action developing here between Scott Shire, James Miller, lap 165 of 200. Shire trying to get himself up ahead of Miller, and Miller really putting up a fight even on these old tires. I mean, maybe not even necessarily just putting up a fight, but I'm surprised at how well Miller is doing here. And as I say
James
that,
Miller, yeah, just having a little bit of a bobble there, and but you know what, keeping the car pointed the right direction. So that is the number one thing that the 09 machine can do at this point. Is unfortunately he's going to have to watch Scott Shire just make his way ahead. But James Miller, let's not beat around the bush here. I'm incredibly impressed with the fact that he's been out there for almost 90 laps at this point, and still continuing to make laps. That's incredible from him. Attrition, attrition speak rather than anything else, you know.
And he's still top 5. That's the craziest part about it.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the changes in the way that, well, I mean, the way that car drives with the temperature on those tires. But Jaden Hopp at the moment is working his way through some lap traffic, and we're going to see just how well that works out, as every single driver is on that high line, and the drivers that he is trying to make his way past are having their own individual battles as well. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much give and take is going to be used, and how much tact Jaden Hopp needs to make his way through this traffic in a clean and calm manner.
Well, and really another question is too, is this gonna open the door for Tony Hilbrand's to close the gap between himself and Jaden Hopp here, as we're on board with the 81 machine at the moment, as he's trying to work his way around Michael Keithley and Sean Williams. Keithley in that 7th place position, Sean Williams going to be in 9th here at the moment, but Tony Hilbrand's just under 7 seconds behind Jaden Hopp at the moment. And you know, as we're seeing right now, most of the big hit there from Keithley, but most of these drivers are kind of just, again, they're just keeping themselves settled out here. They're not trying to push too aggressively here, as Nicholas Corcel also making his way around that 09 machine. James Miller just absolutely not giving up. Not giving up on this run here. He is determined to set the record here tonight, as far as amongst the drivers who was able to stay out the longest on the same set of tires. And I think Miller is looking to accomplish that here today, as still almost 100 laps. Oh boy,
Whoa.
almost about to be less than that as he comes out of 4, and I think that is a sign, James, to come down into the pits and grab a
Yeah,
fresh
those
set.
those tires are definitely shot up, and
Nope.
he's not coming down though. He's staying out. He's pretty much effectively. The problem is that he stayed out for so long at this point.
You know what, you're right.
As long as he has enough fuel, the only chance he has is to hope for a caution until he runs out of fuel, and by the time he runs out of fuel, he's going to have to come down. So that's unfortunately staying out for this long. He's kind of locked himself into that, but there he goes. He can't do any longer as he makes his way down into pit road, staying out there for a very respectable 95 laps. So great job from him so far, and hopefully we'll see how he manages to, well, where he manages to end up as he makes his way out. But I believe he's probably lost himself quite a few positions, unfortunately, in that struggle to keep himself out there as long as possible. But Tony Hilbrands, we're looking at now on the other side of the track as he enters 3 and comes out of 4. He's looking pretty good right now and actually closing the gap just very slowly to Jaden Hopp, but I'm not sure if it's going to be quite enough, as Hopp is still a full 6 seconds ahead. As you can see, James Miller has just come out right exactly where Tony Hilbrands is.
Yeah, it is looking like, I mean, Miller able to come out right alongside Hilbrands, but that is not without coming down a few laps here as well. Like you mentioned, Gareth, it's not going to come without a loss, and Miller going to be down, looks to be about 2 laps here at the moment. So, and there it is. You can already see the life of those new tires playing in the favor of James Miller. So 24 laps left to go, and having the freshest set of tires amongst the field by a huge margin, about roughly 30 laps average, maybe a little less than that, but definitely a big difference for a short track like IRP. And 23 laps left to go. Miller already on the hunt here to try and put himself as close to the front of the pack as he can, and we're going to see if that's going to play off in the favor of the 09 driver. As we have, again, 22 laps left to go. We're watching along with Logan Jones, the number 3 driver, as he makes his way along with some lap traffic here as well. And going to be looking to put James Coulibaly in the lap traffic here as well, as he's looking to make a pass around that 7th place driver. So, Gareth, I mean, 22 laps left to go, and not really any signs of drivers making any sort of mistakes here. It really seems like the track has gotten to the point where grip is a lot better than what it was towards the start of the race. So, and it could also be a setup thing as well for some drivers. You know, again, for those of you that aren't aware, Tony in the Tony in the number 92 machine, he does all of the setups every week. So he's the one that makes sure that all the drivers have the same car for every single race. So sometimes, you know, again, that doesn't always translate to every single driver. Some drivers like to have a car that's a little bit looser, a little bit tighter, so on and so forth, but we won't get into all the specifics of that. Lindsay is saying that this mama's nervous, but she is proud either way. And yeah. Go ahead,
just
Gareth.
on that topic, yeah, thanks. Just on that topic, you know, and I know we've done it already, but we're going to do another shout out to the mums out there. You know, we none of us would be here if it weren't for our mums. So much love to all the mums out there, and yeah, thank you very much for basically letting us put on this show and all the drivers put on this show, because as I said, they wouldn't be here if it weren't for the mums.
Well, and a big shout out to Tony as well. I mean, it goes unnoticed most of the time, but Tony is ultimately the one responsible for making sure that both me and Gareth are up here in the booth every single week, and he's the one that, you know, makes sure that we get paid and all that stuff. So a big special thank you to Tony for having us for 2 consecutive seasons now. It's been a huge pleasure, and I truly thank Tony for continuing to work with us and continuing to be a part of the TGS family. I sincerely thank Tony and all of the VRL family for for all that they've done for not only us, but for the shows that we put on every single week. So huge shout out to all of you. And you guys know what I'm going to say next, or maybe you don't, but if you guys want to support not only Velocity Racing League, but also Team Goon Squad, pick up some merchandise. Head on over to our website, teamgoonsquad.com. Head on over to the merchandise section. You can find some Velocity Racing League merchandise. Pick up a t-shirt, pick up a sweater, a coffee mug, whatever suits your flavor. And you can also support VRL with 50% of the profits of that purchase going directly back to VRL to help them support, continue doing what they're doing, and continue to put on these great races. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to show your support, show your love, and represent Velocity Racing League, head on over to our website and pick yourself up a t-shirt and represent your favorite league, your favorite broadcasters, however you want to view it as. We genuinely appreciate it. Either way, as 13 laps left to go here, let's check back in with our main man, Mr. James Miller, still in that 9th place position, but Gareth, I mean, still showing some pretty good pace, and according to timing and scoring, he has great pace, and I don't think he's going to be able to crack into, I mean, at most, I think he might be able to track down Sean Williams. At best, he's probably going to be able to get James Coulibaly up there in 7th, but with 12 laps left to go, I just don't know if he's going to have enough time to pull it off.
Well, like you said, great pace. I mean, you know, he's rocking and rolling around 6/10, 7/10 quicker than any other car on track at the moment. But yeah, it's too little too late unless he has a caution to help him out through the field, as he makes his way around on lap 187, as the drivers are actually about to get to lap 190 as Jaden Hopp is a lap or two ahead. So, you know, it's just the way of the road. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes a strategy like that pays off perfectly. But like I said earlier on, you know, if he took tires every single time he came down pit road, he may have only had one set left, and that really forced his hand as well into that strategy. So a definitely not what Miller was coming out to see, and hoping for a little caution, but definitely has the pace and showing that he still deserves to be exactly where he finishes up at the moment. But Jaden Hopp looking to put Nicholas Corsell down one lap, and the Sour Patch machine is running.
Yeah, and you know, I think for Jaden Hopp right now, really kind of having an unexpected opportunity to lead the field there, not necessarily halfway through the race, but around that lap 75, somewhere in that neighborhood. And ever since then, it's been all the 81 show from here. I mean, it's just been all Jaden Hopp, and has not seen another driver really take his place since then. So Jaden Hopp continuing his streak here in the Velocity Racing League 2023 season, showing that he's on fire. I mean, this Jaden is absolutely on fire. And I mean, honestly, Gareth, I wouldn't be surprised if Jaden doesn't make an appearance in the NASCAR series at some point here in the future, given his success here. But I mean, that's all obviously just all speculation on my behalf. But you know, I think Jaden shows very great talent behind the wheel, and has shown very, very great success here this season. And it would be great to see Jaden kind of explore some options, you know, outside of Monday nights here, and maybe try his hand at some other racing if he doesn't already. But it's really great to see how well Jaden has been performing racing week in and week out here with VRL. Nonetheless, but also got to give a shout out here to yet again Tony for being up here in second place. I mean, you know, again, having a few races where he's been up here in the top 3, leading a race, what have you, and has found himself in just really, really tough situations, having some tough breaks handed to him. But tonight does not seem to be that case here, and started in 3rd place, going to look to finish in 2nd. I think a podium here for Tony is going to be an absolutely welcoming feeling here for the 92 driver, as 4 laps left to go, and we are about ready to bring things to a close, as it looks like Jaden Hopp might have had a little bit. Who was that up there?
That was Matthew Fitz, just having a little bit of a argument with the wall, and well, I guess the wall won, like in your polls. So I think he's looking to see if he can come down pit road. I think he may have had enough at this point. So Matthew Fitz definitely coming in and deciding probably to just park it for the remaining few laps here as we wind down the clock. But Sean Williams is trying to fight back as James Miller has made his way around for that 8th place position. And Miller on that high line is looking very racy indeed. Just in front of them is Scott Shire. However, Shire a lap ahead of these two, so not for position. But Miller making short work, not as short a work as I expected, of Sean Williams, who definitely put up a good fight there. But those new tires that are underneath the car of James Miller are just too much for Sean Williams to do anything about as we head into the final lap here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Coming out of turn 2, it's Jaden Hopp, the 81 machine, your race leader. Gonna be up ahead of, Charles Jurek, the number 76 machine, down a few laps in 11th place here. But Jaden Hopp coming out of 3 and 4. You can see the virtual hand waving away there as he comes across the line. It's a huge victory yet again here for Jaden Hopp, taking it across the line for a win here at Lucas Oil Raceway and continuing to add on to the wins here for the 81 driver. That will bring him up to 7 wins this season already. Folks, it's looking like we might have that streak that Aaron Smith currently has from last season. I don't know. It looks like Jaden Hopp, he might be looking to break it this season.
Yeah, he's unstoppable at the moment. And as he said to us, all those weeks ago, really what changed for him this season as opposed to last season was just practice, practice, and practice. And we are showing that payoff week in and week out as he continues to find himself, even when he doesn't win, he's finding himself towards the top end of the field. So a great performance from him as per usual, as he's taken home first with Hilbrands not too far behind, and Logan Jones coming in our 3rd spot.
Yeah, it has been an exciting night here for our drivers and for this race here as we get ourselves ready for some post-race interviews. And first up is going to be up in the booth here, Mr. Logan Jones, who I don't think we've actually had an opportunity to talk to yet this season. So Logan Jones going to be the first driver up here in the booth, and I think is going to be the first time up here in the booth this season. Let's go ahead and bring him up here. Logan, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on an incredible podium here for the number 3 machine. I'm sure you've got to be feeling ecstatic. It was a difficult race here. Towards the beginning, it looked like a very slick track out there. It looked like drivers were fighting tires pretty much all the way up until about lap 100, maybe even a little bit before that. Once the sun started to settle, track temperature started to come down a little bit, and you guys started to seem like you were getting more grip out there. But Logan, it was a very interesting race here tonight, and just kind of walk me through your thoughts on how this race started and being able to come away with a podium here tonight.
Well, I'm really pleased to be able to get a podium here tonight. Didn't expect to get the podium really. Didn't have a lot of laps on this track yet, and honestly kind of just tiptoed it for about the first 50 laps, just trying to feel out how the track is, the setup, just how loose it'll get on fresh tires and all, and really just try to keep consistent lap times throughout the race. And once that long run started to come in, I felt pretty comfortable with the car. I did have a moment, I think early on in the race, I ended up smacking the wall in 3, but nothing too big. And I'm just, pleased that I was able to get in top 3 tonight. Thought it was missed the moment at Myrtle a couple weeks ago, but this makes up for it.
Well, and coming away with a podium here, I'm sure that's going to give you a lot of momentum looking into the All-Star race next week, which, from what I understand, it does not look like it's going to count for points, but it will be 70 laps at Iowa Speedway. And I mean, again, not an account for points, but what are you kind of hoping to accomplish next week at Iowa for the All-Star race? And then 2 weeks from now, we have the Heartland 400, the crown jewel at Iowa Speedway. So, I mean, kind of 2 weeks here. I'm not sure if we're broadcasting the All-Star race next week, but I know for a fact we will be at the Heartland 400 in 2 weeks. But just kind of walk me through your thought process here for the next couple weeks.
Well, the biggest thing is for All-Star race is just to learn the track a little bit, see how it behaves. Obviously, the race in 2 weeks' time is going to be a 400-lap race, so it'll be an endurance one. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to have a lot of fun next Monday. Just learn a little bit as to how the track acts and all, and how the car does going into entry and exit. And obviously, Iowa has a habit of getting you loose coming out of the corners. So yeah, it's going to be a learning process next week. Try to do some good things in the All-Star race, and hopefully we'll be able to get some positive out of it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm certainly rooting for you. It was great to finally get to see you up here in the top 3. I know you've kind of been floating around there for some time, and like you said, at Myrtle Beach, you kind of had an opportunity there as well. But it's certainly great. It's certainly great to have you up here in the booth for the first time this season. I certainly look forward to hopefully getting you up here again in the future. But before we let you go, Logan, and before you get to celebrating and cracking open a cold one with your fellow drivers and teammates, is anyone out there that you want to shout out and thank before you go tonight?
Well, I do appreciate Tony for putting on this league. I've been in and out of it for about a year and a half, and obviously he's done a great job running this league. We got a lot of great guys in this league as well. So yeah, looking forward to many more times coming up here in the podium.
Absolutely. I certainly look forward to it, and I want to wish you luck going into next week in the All-Star race. I'm, again, not sure if we're going to be there next week, but I will certainly let you all know in the future. But, Logan, thank you for your time, and congratulations yet again on your podium, and I look forward to seeing you in the next coming weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a great night. Alrighty, folks, so that was Logan Jones out of the booth, taking away third place here tonight. Up next and passing it on over here to my esteemed colleague, Gareth McAllister, we have Tony Hillbrands joining us up in the booth, coming away with a second place finish. And Tony, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on that finish, and I will hand you off to Gareth.
Yeah, good day, Tony. How you feeling? How you doing? Second place ain't bad, mate.
It's better than a lot of other positions. How you doing? You made it tonight. Hope there wasn't anything wrong last week. Missed you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, last week was actually had a power outage at my house last week, so a little bit of well, all of a sudden, it just kind of happened that way. But Tony, I'm here to stay as many times as I can. And I absolutely love it. But this is all about you at the moment, not about me. So talk us through what was going through your head, especially after that big wreck that you were involved in. If you can remember, if you can rewind your mind back.
Yeah, I can remember that. I shouldn't have been in it, unfortunately, because the pit stop under caution we had there before, it kind of cost me any chance of the win. I came in second, right, and I overshot my pit stall, so I came out fifth, and that's why I was back there. So I shouldn't have even been back there. And then after that, I just, it was like 2 restarts after that, I think, when Howie and Scott finally pit after everyone else did. And it was me and Jaden up there. And I had to just do everything I could to get by him. And I almost did, but then I got loose and wasn't able to clear him. So he got back by me. And then after that, it was just trying to keep up with him. And then I overshot the corner a couple times and hit the wall. And my tires were dead after being on the inside for like 6 laps trying to pass him. So I was just trying to hang on to second and hope for a late caution so I could get reset with Jaden on tires and try to do that again. But yeah, I'll take second for how the race went. I got to stop finishing behind Jaden. I don't care if I win or not. I can't gain on him in the points if he keeps finishing ahead of me, and that's what I'm trying to do. So he ran a great race, so everyone ran a pretty good race. It was pretty. I think we had 3 cautions, maybe 4.
I
It
believe
was a really
3,
good race for IRP. Next week is the All-Star race, so just gonna go for broke then, and hope everything goes well.
Yeah, well, just on to almost expanding what you've been saying. I think this is one of those tracks that it seemed like it gelled with you really well. I mean, Jaden, of course, being Jaden, we see him up in the booth all the time. But I will say, for you, I've seen you many races this season so far, up at the front, and then just getting involved in incidents, whether they be just through no fault of your own or whatever it is. But you found yourself up in second place tonight. At least that should feel good and count for something.
I was gonna say, at least I didn't get wrecked tonight, but I did get caught up in that one. But nobody wrecked me, so that's good. Which is like only the second race here, the last 6 that happened. But yeah, if I don't get wrecked, I should finish in the top 3 the rest of the season, hopefully. Except for maybe the road courses, but yeah, that's a different game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks at Iowa. One of my favorite tracks. I haven't gotten to win there yet, unfortunately. But after that, we're done with short tracks for a couple months, so that's also a good thing that everyone's looking forward to. So yeah, hopefully can get some good finishes here the next couple weeks.
All right, well, sounds good. And I hope that I sent Dawn, because she sent me Sour Patch, as in case people don't know, she sent me Sour Patch Kids several weeks ago. And I sent her back some Tim Tams, which are an Australian staple chocolate, and hopefully they didn't melt away in the plane on the way over. But I don't know, have you got a chance to try any of those yet?
I don't know if she's got them yet, but once she does, I'll let you know.
All right, sounds good. Well, you let us know how they are. Hopefully they suit your taste buds as well, Tony. But it's been great to talk to you and see you up here in the booth once again. So shout outs are ready for you and waiting, I guess. Anyone, family, friends, sponsors, the floor's yours.
Yeah, just everyone who shows up every week to run, because can't put on a race without people showing up. You guys here for the broadcast, because again, can't put a broadcast on without you guys, and obviously everyone who watches, because this is what we do it for, so you guys can watch and hopefully enjoy. And I think we put on a good show, especially tonight. So again, yeah, thanks for everybody who shows up.
All right, cheers, Tony. Have a very good night and have a good luck at the All-Star.
You too, thanks.
Alrighty, folks, Tony Hilbrand's coming out of the booth, taking away second place here tonight on the podium. Last and certainly not going to be least here, the man of the hour, the driver who really kind of took away the race after things settled out. Jaden, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on yet another win. You're closing in on those double-digit wins. And I mean, Jaden, you've been on fire for quite some time, and really showing that you're kind of you are unstoppable this season, it seems like. And looking forward into the next couple weeks, I mean, we head to Iowa for 2 races back-to-back, the All-Star race next week, followed by the Crown Jewel race, the Heartland 400. What's kind of your expectations here for the next couple races? I mean, you kind of had almost what seemed like a flawless race here tonight, not really having too many issues, at least towards the beginning that I recall. What's kind of your game plan going forward into Iowa? I mean, the All-Star race not necessarily being counted for points, but the Crown Jewel race, I'm more than certain that you are going to be part of one of the drivers competing for that sweet extra cash at the end of the race. But I mean, Jaden, kind of what's your expectations here going into Iowa in the next couple weeks?
I mean, the expectation is just to get as best of a points finishes as I can. As for Iowa, I think it'll be pretty good. Mostly try and use the All-Star races like practice for the full one.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that'll be a great opportunity to kind of get a warm-up, if you will. Only 70 laps that we'll have for the All-Star race. 400 laps for the Crown Jewel, which is it's going to be like like Logan Jones mentioned, going to be a little bit of an endurance. But Jaden, I mean, you've shown great talent throughout this season, and leading the points championship at the moment, and having quite a bit of a gap between yourself and Howie Brisson. As I refresh the page here, it looks like you've increased that gap between yourself and Howie Briss to 158 points. I mean, you're getting to that point now where you're almost kind of like Max Verstappen in last year's Formula One season, where it was already 2-3 races left in the season, and it was already pretty much determined that he was going to be the champion. But there's still quite a few races left in this season, but you definitely built yourself up quite a cushion. Do you continue to plan on building upon that, or are you kind of getting to the point now where you feel like you are gonna maybe take a little bit of maybe not a step back, but have a little bit of a breather to work with every now and then?
I mean, the goal is to get as big of a points cushion as I possibly can, but at this point I can hopefully just hold on at this point.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly look forward to it. I'm more than certain that I can speak for Gareth as well when I say that it's been exciting seeing yourself dominate this season so far, and showing that the 81 machine has definitely improved a lot from last season and is ready to come away with a championship this season. But Jaden, I won't take up too much more of your time. Is anyone out there watching the broadcast that you want to shout out and thank before you go here tonight?
As always, I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and Tony and everyone for showing up every week. And then I'd like to shout out my mom and grandma for watching, and Happy Mother's Day and all that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jaden, for joining us here yet again for another victory here for the 2023 season, and I look forward to seeing you in the next coming weeks, and hopefully get to talk to you again here in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You have a great night. Alrighty, folks, Jaden Hopp, the race winner, coming out of the booth here. 7-time race winner here today for the 2023 season here at IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway. And that's going to bring our coverage here today to an end of the Hoosier 200. For both myself and Gareth McAllister, it's been a phenomenal night, and I certainly look forward to our next race. Again, I'm not sure if we're broadcasting the All-Star race next week. I'm going to have to get in touch with Tony about that and find out. But if we don't happen to be broadcasting next week, we will most definitely see you all in 2 weeks' time for the Heartland 400 at Iowa for the Crown Jewel race. I believe the second or third one of the season. Gareth, I mean, it's been a great season so far, and I'm certainly excited to, like Tony mentioned, kind of take a break from the short tracks and start to get into some of the more tracks that we have on the schedule that I'm certainly looking forward to.
Yeah, well, don't take anything away from short track racing. It's certainly a different skill in its own right, and there's a lot going on, and I definitely think that we're going to see some great racing in the future, but we've already seen some great racing in the past as well. So definitely a league that I would love to keep an eye on, and I am definitely going to do so. So, it's just one of those things. This league is fantastic. Anyone who wants to join VRL, Velocity Racing League, fantastic, join. All the guys here are very, very nice, very willing to help out. And, we'll always be up here in the booth if you enjoy what you see. Tune in next week. Happy Mother's Day to all, and thanks for tuning in this week. Yeah, I got through it.
On that note, folks, thank you all for tuning in. We will see you all, whether it's next week or in 2 weeks' time. You know the deal. Same time, same place. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit the subscribe button to catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad almost 7 nights a week. And also hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time. And as always, happy Mother's Day and have a great week.